This week in the show, we're ranking our top 10 favourite horror movies. Stick around for ghosts, demons, murderers, and the worst thing known to man, a child. I'm David.
I'm Caolan.
And this is Two Men in a Podcast. Right, so I think we're going to get straight into it this week.
Yeah, we don't have any bear talk this week.
No,
we're just
slow
going
news
to
week.
jump straight in because we've such a fucking hefty topic here. David, do you want to let them know what our criteria for this list is?
Yeah, so this isn't a definitive list of the 10 best horror movies ever
Mine
made.
is.
Well, okay, that's debatable. This isn't like going off IMDb ratings or anything. This is based off personal opinion, really. And Caolan, do you want to kind of give your criteria, how you picked it? Was it?
Yeah, I just tried to get, like, because horror is such a broad topic and it's such an interesting genre that I tried to get, like, there's so many different types of horror. There's like the elevated horror topic that I hate, and there's like found footage and stuff. I tried to squeeze one of everything in. So some of them are, like, my number 10's a very bad film, but it's one of my favourite horror movies.
Okay, yeah.
So I tried to squeeze it in. We said last week we were leaving The Thing out.
Yeah.
So if that isn't in our lists and we can't be judged for it.
Yeah.
I will be judged, but
Not for that.
not for that, no.
I didn't take any particularly mad criteria. I kind of tried to balance personal taste with quality. So I tried to avoid, Jason X, Freddy vs. Jason, all the Nightmare on Elm Street. Caolan's shaking his head, and I think I know what his number 10 is.
It's not that one, but yeah.
I tried to balance kind of quality with personal preference. The best way to explain it is I picked 10 very good films and ranked them in order of how much I like them.
Yeah. My 6 and 7 are bouncing. I'll get to it when I get to
Okay,
it, but
right.
my 6 and 7 are completely swapping in
Right.
my head right now. So by the time we get to it, my 6 might actually be my 7.
Right, so starting off my number 10, The Invisible Man, directed by Lee Wan-el.
The 2020 version.
Yeah, the 2020 version starring Elizabeth Moss, who is fantastic in it, as she's in everything. One thing I love about this movie is they could have so easily done it where it's like, oh, is she being stalked or is she just going crazy? But instead they make it very clear that she's being stalked, that the Invisible Man is real, but no one else believes in it. I just think, other than The Thing, I think this is the best kind of paranoia, kind of tension film. It's so good, and Elizabeth Moss is fantastic. There's scenes where she's just fighting with an Invisible Man, and it's so good. I love it.
Yeah, Invisible. I did consider. We talked beforehand. You said, is that the one you said might surprise me? No, I did consider Invisible Man, but only because I got Megan to watch it not so long ago. I did consider putting it in. I just wanted to put Elizabeth Moss in, really. Yeah, Invisible Man's very good, and it plays very well back to the original, an original that I have no real affinity for. So I think it's a very good film, and it's a very good number 10, David. It can only be an up jump in quality from here, I hope. Whereas my number 10 is a very sharp jump.
Okay.
The opposite of a jump, it's a fall. This is the one I thought you might have, but because you said you don't have Jason X, that I know you don't have.
Yeah.
I have Friday the 13th, Jason Lives.
Okay.
Part
right.
6. This is the best version of Tommy Jarvis.
Yeah.
It's the one who keeps being brought back in these fan films. Have you seen the fan films?
No, I haven't seen
These
that.
never hike films. They're very, like, short, good films. But part 6 is Jason is not dead as of the final chapter. He's been brought back by lightning, and this is where they bring in his magical powers. This is what kicks off the run towards Freddy versus Jason and stuff.
Okay, yeah.
It's just so hilariously camp. Even though all of the Friday the 13th films are hilariously camp, this one just plays with, there's rock music as caravans flip. There's very poor use of people of colour, but we'll forget about all that. Yeah, it's a 1986 film. It's the best of the Friday films.
Yeah, when you were hinting that you had a Friday the 13th, I was just worried it was going to be part 3, because I hate part 3.
I don't hate part 3 as much as you do, but no, we'll get to a Friday the 13th ranking one of these days. Yeah. But yeah, I have part 6. I'm assuming that's not your number 9.
It is not my number 9. My number 9 is Adam Wingard's 2011 film, You're Next. Adam Wingard is one of my favourite directors to come out of the last kind of 10 years. It stars Sharni Vinson as Erin and AJ Bowen as her boyfriend Crispin. They're going out to meet Crispin's incredibly rich family out in the middle of nowhere, and essentially they're just stalked. It's a house invasion film with a nice kind of twist to it. 2 scenes I want to talk about. The second kill, which I won't say anything about because it kind of comes out of nowhere, but the second kill of the family is absolutely brilliant.
I love You're Next.
Yeah.
It's actually in my honourable mentions.
And the second scene I want to talk about is there's a scene where someone's standing over someone and with a fire axe, and they use it like as a golf club swing on their head. Brilliant stuff.
Your Next is fantastic. I don't have too much to say because it's not on my list, but it's one of them that really would have been.
Yeah.
And I assume you're gonna have a couple that would have been. But yeah, Your Next is very good. It's one of the problem with a horror movie is the dumb characters. Your Next is one of them where the main character is
because of course
extremely intelligent.
Turns out Erin grew up in a survivalist compound.
Yeah, Erin is very intelligent and does her job really well. Your Next, great choice, David. My number 9 is Jordan Peele's 2017 Get Out.
Well, I may as well reveal my number 8.
Is Get Out. That's a mad coincidence, David. I juggled this and Us because I wanted to have one of Jordan Peele's films in. I think this almost plays more like a drama than a horror, but it's one of those, like I said, that horror plays so many different roles. It was up for comedy in the Oscars. Daniel Kaluuya is the main character of Get Out, and he goes to visit his white girlfriend's family who doesn't know he's a black man, and there's just so many like subtly racist.
Yeah, the dad is brilliant, Bradley Whitford, who's like, he's got a cameo role in everything. He's Jake Peralta's dad in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. He's a councilman in Parks and Rec in an episode I watched last night. He's fantastic. He's a great kind of character actor.
Or he's one of them subtle like racist digs where he says that he'd vote for Obama a third time if he was allowed.
So that means I'm not racist, of course.
Yeah, and it just once stuff starts kicking into gear with Get Out, it's a fantastic movie.
The other thing I love about Get Out is normally in horror movies, the comic relief character is obnoxious, is awful, is so off-putting. And in this, it's Chris's friend, who is played by Lil Ray Howery, who's the TSA agent, and he is
motherfucking A.
He is hilarious. He is fantastic in this.
Yes, Get Out is fantastic. We know it's your number 8.
Yeah.
So that's kind of jumped back to me immediately. This is the one I took a very popular horror movie out of my list to put this in. And I'm not sure a lot of people will have seen it. I'll let you know at the end what mine was because I think it might be on your list. But
could be.
I'm going with 2019's Ready or Not.
I haven't seen
this movie, David.
I have not.
No, I went to see. I'll give him the shout out he's gagging for on this podcast. I went to see this film with Fra. We just went a random day. It looked like it's like a horror comedy kind of thing.
Yeah.
We just wanted a random easy watch film, so we went to see Ready or Not. It stars Shamara Weaving from The Babysitter and a lot of other. She's kind of making a staple in horror movies now. The idea is there's this family and they're rich from board games and all the likes. And when you marry into the family, you have to play a board game on your first night. You can play chess, you can play Monopoly, you can play all the things. But if you get hide and seek, then the idea of the film is they have from that point to dawn to murder you, and otherwise the curse takes over the whole world or whatever. So it's one of those films where you never know if anything's going. Like, you don't know if this family's insane, if there's demons involved, if it's very, very funny and very, very entertaining with some twists along the way. So I can't recommend it enough. We'll jump into your number 7.
My number 7 is Stephen King's story, Misery, directed by Rob Reiner. Have you seen this?
Oh, I've seen Misery, yeah.
Misery is excellent. Kathy Bates plays Annie Wilkes, who's this super fan of this writer, who's played by James Caan. Basically, he's in a car crash, and she rescues him from the car crash and traps him and makes him rewrite his latest book. And there's a scene where she finds out he's been sneaking around the house when she's not there, and it is horrifying. She puts bricks over his legs and just gets a sledgehammer.
Brutal film to watch.
It's fantastic, but yeah, also absolutely
It
brutal.
is my dream that one day with one of these lists that one of our fans gets so annoyed that we get
kidnapped.
We get kidnapped and treated until we like redo the list to put Friday Jason X.
Because Mo do that in The Simpsons.
Yeah, that's exactly. Yeah, that's. I want to be kidnapped for this. I'm gonna have to make my choice now about 6 or 7.
Yeah, go on.
I think it's not a surprise that this film's on my list, but it might be a surprise that it's number 7.
Okay.
Wes Craven's Scream. I love satire. It's a satirical horror movie. It points out all the tropes and it stars Neve Campbell as Sydney. Scream is like is it one of the most iconic horror movies?
I think so, yeah.
It's one of the most transformative, really.
Yes.
It sparks a whole new line of horror movies. Like, even that are being made now, like Ready or Not's not made without Scream.
Yeah.
My number 6 is definitely not made without Scream. Wes Craven's such a weird character in horror movies, like, as a director, because his films are just so, you say unique, but now they're not, I suppose, but for the time they definitely are. He's such a, like, trendsetter, really. And you can tell The only problem I have with it is how weird his cameos are in film. Like when he shows up as Freddy, the janitor in Scream, just as a random, it's so strange. But Scream's hilarious. It plays with the who's the killer idea so well. I don't think I need to describe what Scream is for most people.
Yeah, I actually don't have Scream on my list.
Oh.
And I couldn't fit Scream onto my list. And because of that, I just couldn't put Friday the 13th or Halloween, which also aren't on my list. Because I think Friday the 13th and Halloween are like Pac-Man. You know, they were revolutionary when they came out. And they're still solid to go back to now. But because not only horror movies, but slasher movies in particular have become so much more, I just couldn't fit them on the list. Like, even you talk about Scream, which was the kind of meta one, and you've got like Happy Death Day, which is like a time loop slasher movie. You've got It Follows, you've got The Final Girls, you've got so many movies that are like slasher movie but so unique that I couldn't fit them onto my list.
Yeah, I completely understand. I just had to get Scream on. It's one of my favourite horror movies. I could also count 2 and 3 just in the same way I could count a Friday film. I just think they're not as good as the first one, but they're
still very good.
They're so good. Right. Number 6?
Yeah, so my number 6 snuck 2 films onto this. I've got The Ring and the original Japanese Ringu. Yeah.
You pretentious fucker.
Listen, I had not seen the Japanese version. And I was considering putting The Grudge on here, the Japanese version, but I decided to put The Ring because the American version is actually good, but the Japanese version is even better. Weirdly enough, for a movie about a videotape that kills you, The Ring actually tones down the supernatural kind of elements from the original Japanese film, which I think is an odd choice, but, you know, I'm not going to complain too much because it's still a solid film.
Yeah, that's a great choice, David. I don't respect shoving Ringo in here. Just because it's such a fucking... Ringo is so much better. You haven't seen the original Japanese version.
The Japanese director's cut is the best version of the film.
What are you doing with your life, you loser? Yeah, it's a great choice in The Ring. I don't have The Ring, but that shaped me as a child.
Yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah,
that horrified me for so long. I can't say that I have seen Ringo.
Yeah.
Because I'm not a fucking pretentious nerd. But yeah, I'll give you it as a great number 6. It's not as good as my number 6.
Oh, what's your number 6?
Which is exactly what Scream does, but I think better. Is Drew Goddard's Cabin in the Woods.
Oh,
I love Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah.
And I almost didn't include Cabin in the Woods because I was including Scream. But I just think that they both do it so well, and you don't have Cabin in the Woods if you don't have Scream.
Yeah.
Cabin in the Woods it's the last film Chris Hemsworth does before he takes on Thor, although it comes out after he does Thor.
Yeah.
It's the idea is that these 5 friends go to the cabin in the woods, the titular woods. They get into a typical slasher situation. I'm almost tempted not to.
Yeah, but everything's not as it seems.
Yeah, it's not a spoiler, but I'd say go in as blind as you can.
I actually, because the opening scene, I'm not going to say what it is, but it's designed to make you think you went into the wrong film.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I watched it, I thought I had hit the wrong thing on Netflix or whatever it was. I genuinely thought I was watching the wrong film, which is exactly what he meant by it.
Cabin in the Woods is great.
I very much struggled. I was telling you last week, I had my number 1 through 9 list done by this time last week, and the number 10 choice was so difficult, and I think Cabin in the Woods was the second closest to getting in.
Cabin in the Woods had to be on. I'll let you away with not having it.
You know the way you hated my Japanese film at number 6? You're really going to hate my South Korean film at number 5, which is Train to Busan, directed by Sang-ho Yeon. I love zombie films. I love The Walking Dead. I love Shaun of the Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead, Night of the Living Dead. I love them all. Train to Busan is the best zombie film I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
It is so good.
Train to Busan is my number 5.
It's your number 5, right?
It is my number 5. I love this film. I put off watching it for so long because I didn't really want to watch a Korean movie.
Fair.
But I've since grown up, and Parasites kind of made me watch more films. Train to Busan is the best horror movie, best zombie movie.
Yeah.
Of at least since Romero started doing them. And I'd say it stands up better, obviously. But if you can get past subtitles in Korean, Train to Busan, it's some of the choices are pretty dumb in the film, but it's a zombie movie. That's kind of what you do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And I
adore it.
I didn't think any of the choices were they weren't like movie dumb. They were like, I could see people making these choices.
Yeah, I'll give you Train to Busan. I won't. It's not Ringu.
You let me off.
I'll let you have Train to Busan. Jump back to you because
right. So for my number 4, if someone had never seen a horror movie in their life and I'd show them one horror movie, it would be this. It's The Exorcist.
Yeah, it's a total my first horror movie. Yeah, I'll let you speak on why you love it so much.
Fantastic. Linda Blair plays the child who gets possessed by this demon. And every time they walk into this room, this little girl's room, something horrible is happening. There's one stage where she's got a crucifix and she's stabbing herself in the vagina with it.
Yeah.
It is grim. Her mother comes in and tries to grab it off her. She grabs the mother's head and shoves it down there. So this is the kind of stuff we're talking about. There's a cameo from a real life potential serial killer in this movie. He plays one of the medical technicians. The director decided to use just actual medical technicians, so he just went to the hospital and say, oh, can we use can we just film it here and use actual medical technicians? Turned out this guy had killed his girlfriend and potentially several other people. There was a fire on set which burnt everything down except the little girl's bedroom. It premiered in Rome and lightning struck the church across the road from it. It's just, I think it is the horror movie. Like, if I had to show someone one horror movie, it would be this. The spider walk down the stairs as well.
The Exorcist is the most like classical, like, what scared you as a child.
Yeah.
The Exorcist. More so than any film I think I have anyway. It's definitely one of those where I think even people who haven't seen The Exorcist are terrified of The Exorcist. Yeah. Like, if you haven't seen The Exorcist, it's not because you haven't got round to it, it's because you don't want to see The Exorcist.
Exactly, yeah.
That's exactly what it is. It was meant to rerun in the Omniplex here in Dundalk on like the 16th, but obviously COVID has wrecked that. I had my tickets already planned. I was very excited to see it on the big screen, but no, unfortunately not. I'll have to watch it on my laptop once again.
Yeah.
Yeah, The Exorcist is great. Number 4 from me is what I think actually is the horror movie to show people.
Okay.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I didn't want to put too many slashers on my list, and I had to include Friday the 13th just because it's such a guilty pleasure for me. Yeah. So it was between the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Halloween for my spot here. I think Texas Chainsaw Massacre is the best horror movie before 2012. It's probably maybe better than number 3, but I think my number 3 is a top 5 film. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that last scene with the chainsaw swinging is probably the most. That is, I say this a lot. I have copped on in the last 5 weeks that I have a lot of hyperbole when it comes to iconic scenes, but I do think that is the last image of a horror movie. Yeah. More so, that's up there with like Michael in the Window and stuff like that. Everyone knows that. The Chainsaw Massacre is brutal the whole way through. It's absolutely awful the whole way through. Right? Marilyn Burns plays the final girl, and that poor girl takes an absolute walloping the whole way through this movie. Her friends are butchered, and it's so brutal. I love Leatherface is an iconic horror movie villain, and I think is the best slasher villain ever, and I'm going to leave it at that. I think a lot of people will agree with me about the Texas Chainsaw.
Yeah, it didn't make my list, but I can't really argue with you.
I just had to have it or Halloween. They're staples of the horror genre, and I could not have them in. So I'll leave a /Halloween on the side of that. Okay, but I do think the Chainsaw Massacre is a lot better.
Right, so we're into the top 3 now. My number 3.
3 best horror movies
of all time,
definitively.
My number 3 is Ghost Stories.
I've never heard of this film.
Oh, have you not?
No.
Oh, I'm delighted then. It is fantastic. So it's directed by Jeremy Dyson and Andy Nyman. Andy Nyman also stars as Professor Goodman, who's this kind of skeptic who goes around disproving psychics, disproving, ghost stories and all this stuff. He's approached by the guy who kind of got him into this whole thing, who, like, his kind of idol, and he gives him 3 cases that he could not disprove. He spent his life, disproving psychics, debunking poltergeist activity and all this stuff. He gives him 3 cases that he couldn't solve. So he goes to visit these 3 people, and each of these 3 people, it's like a mini terrifying horror story. So it's like 3 mini horror movies in this movie, and at the same time there's all these kind of weird cutaways, and like it's got a real kind of Chekhov's gun kind of vibe about it, that every scene in this film comes back in the last 20 minutes, and the last 20 minutes this film just completely changes everything. I can't recommend it enough. It is,
I'm going to throw it in as a 0 just so I can
just so you can watch it.
Ghost Stories came out in, you don't have it on yet?
No, but it's around 2015, 2016. There's a
so it's a recent.
Oh yeah, it's very recent. There's a Ghost Stories on Netflix, which isn't this.
Okay.
But yeah, it's so good, and I cannot recommend it enough. It's because I don't really like watching a film twice in like a short period of time. But when I watch this film, I just kind of notice a few things at the end, and I instantly rewatch it, and it was so worth it. Absolutely fantastic.
I'm intrigued now by this. I'll have to. I don't think my 3 are going to be ones you haven't seen or heard of. But I think my number 3 gets a bad rap, David.
Yeah.
I think it gets unfairly lumped in with the likes of Paranormal Activity. It's not the same type of movie, but I think it gets the same as like an Insidious or like a
Yeah.
Conjuring, which are good in their own way, but they're not top draw horror
Yeah.
movies. I have Sinister. I think the original Sinister, not the sequels.
Yeah.
I think that the way they go about Ethan Hawke, he's the GOAT, man, of horror movies.
Okay.
I think Sinister is an almost perfect movie in terms of what it's trying to do. I don't think it's as good as my number 2, but it's the same type of film. The grainy video footage that they show of the houses is extremely creepy. It's unsettling stuff. You're looking at me.
Yeah.
Go on, what do you think? You don't like Sinister?
No, I very much disagree with you. Because I saw that thing recently where they put heart monitors on people as they watch horror movies, and Sinister was supposed to be the scariest.
That's part of my thing. That's maybe what has it recently in my mind, but that's the kind of, I think the backlash against this taints how people see Sinister now. If you go back and just watch Sinister with fresh eyes, like, I think it stands up so well. It's fucking, I can't think of his name right now, but the demon is petrifying. But he's absolutely terrifying. The kids are creepy as fuck.
As they tend to be.
Yeah. I'll not have any of this slander of Sinister not being a good horror movie.
No, do you know what? I'll go back and rewatch it, and
I'll not have any of this slander. It's not the scariest movie ever made.
No.
But it's pretty unsettling. The grainy footage is fantastic, and they make the camera footage in Sinister 2 so much more like an actual camera and not like the Super 8 footage that they have in the fucking, and it just completely ruins the entire aesthetic. And it's just an interesting story the whole way through. Like I said, you could swap any of my top 5 really, apart from my 1 and 2.
Yeah.
But I think Sinister's very good, and I'll stand to it.
No,
it's better than some of these fan suggestions I've got, so we'll get to them if you're going to throw shade at me.
Okay, right. My number 2, which I think is not only the best made horror film of all time, is the best made film of all time. Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. There's so much conspiracy theories surrounding this film, and I love it. There's an hour and 40-minute documentary that's just people talking about the conspiracy theories, how this is Kubrick breaking down because he had to fake the moon landing, about how Danny was being molested by Jack. Just, there's so many just weird theories out there about this film. Jack Nicholson is terrifying in it. The book's great as well. It's very different as well if you've got time.
I've heard cliff notes. I haven't actually ever read The Shining.
Yeah, one of the main differences is in the book, Jack Torrance is Stephen King essentially. Whereas in the movie, he's already unhinged. He doesn't like his son. He's not happy with his wife. He's already, dislocated his son's shoulder in the past, and there's potential hints of sexual abuse. But in the book, it's Jack Torrance is a kind of everyman. He's a struggling writer who's struggling with alcoholism because that's what Stephen King was at the time. He's just trying to provide for his family. He's much more more morally good character until the Overlook Hotel gets the claws in him.
Yeah, this is the one that I said I took it last second. And I took it at last second to be more true to myself. I love The Shining, right? But I think what may have turned me away from The Shining is what brings you to it.
Yeah.
Is the amount of discussion and theories around it.
Conspiracy theories.
I have grown tired of. Like, see, the more I hear about Kubrick's moon landing and stuff, I'm sick of it. Me and you have different.
Did you know
patience.
that 2001 Space Odyssey was actually a research project for Kubrick to do the moon landing?
I'm sick of Kubrick. No, Kubrick's one of the best ever. The Shining is probably the most well-made movie.
Yeah.
We will cover a few more Kubrick movies at some stage,
yeah.
Because we've had people ask us to cover, and I say people, it's just Robert Beggs. But he's convinced me that I want to cover it at some stage. The problem with Kubrick is it's not an easy cover.
No. There's a lot
we
of
could
work
go for
on
2 hours talking about The Shining on its own. I took The Shining out last second. I did have it in at number 5. Just because it's not one of my 10 favorite horror movies.
Yeah.
Admittedly, some of these won't be my top 10 tomorrow. Is how it always works with stuff like this. But it is in my honourable mentions if that gets the Kubrick fans off our back.
Yeah, no, I just love it, the whole kind of thing where
I'm intrigued now to see what your number 1 is.
It could be about the Holocaust, it could be about the indigenous people, and I just love every scene, the continuity changes. So like, it'll have a scene of Jack, and then it'll cut to Wendy, and it'll cut back to Jack, and something in the background's different. Or like, it'll be a scene of Danny, and suddenly the carpet is turned around. It's just brilliant stuff.
Yeah, I do really love The Shining, but I'm going to get in trouble for not having this on my list. But
yeah. What's your number 2?
It's a good number 2, David. My number 2 is the best horror movie of the last 40 years. Yeah, the last 40 years, best horror movie. It's Ari Aster's first horror movie. It's Hereditary.
I haven't finished this.
I think this is not even close the best horror movie of the last 40. Everything about this film, and it's also in his follow-up Midsommar, but Midsommar is not as consistently.
It's just summer.
It's not
Though.
summer.
Because
Midsommar.
But it happens in midsummer.
Yeah, but it's not Midsummer. It's the name of the. I'll give you Midsummer. I'm pretty sure it's Midsommar though. Right. I'm not pronouncing anything with an O. Some. If you just say SOM, that's Som.
I think it's midsummer. But
and
anyway.
Mar would be Mar. It's not. So it doesn't change to summer when you put them together.
That's not how language works.
I don't like this whole.
That's like saying
breakdown of the English language.
Well, that's not like saying. Well, it's obviously knife because there's a K and an N.
Yeah, it is obviously knife.
Yeah,
no,
okay.
I don't like this. I don't like this. It's
Back to
Midsommar.
Hereditary. Yeah. Okay, so Hereditary.
Hereditary is. I have seen this film now twice, and I just think we talked about The Invisible Man as a paranoia horror movie. I think this is that ranked to like 1,000.
Yeah.
Because this is my favorite type of horror movie is one where you could be convinced that nothing's going on at all. Where if the Invisible Man, for example, she is just insane.
Yeah.
Like, but it has to be done well.
Yeah.
And in Hereditary, you could be convinced right up until the last very second of any of 10 possibilities. She could be insane. There could be 12 ghosts. It could be her husband playing with her. There's all these things. And once Hereditary hits its gear, which it hits with about a half an hour in, and it changes. If you watch the trailers for Hereditary and then watch the first half hour, you don't have an idea what this film is.
Yeah.
Admittedly, I hadn't seen the trailer, so it just didn't land with me. But I think what Ari Aster does well from those two films is, at least, I will wait to see what he does next. But what he does so well is just brutal violence with emotion, where most actors would cut away. Most directors would cut away from me punching you in the face right now.
Yeah, due to my sinister views,
Due to your sinister views, yeah. It's just, I could talk for an hour. We will cover Hereditary.
Yeah.
Just to make you finish it, if nothing else.
Yeah, because it's on Netflix right now, actually.
It is.
I sat down to watch it a couple of days ago, but I realised I had my 1 to 9, and I was trying to struggle to fit about 5 films in my number 10, and I didn't want to add it, so I got about halfway through and I was like, this is looking kind of good, I don't want to make another choice here, so I stopped watching it. Midsummer also I started watching, and stopped for the same reason, because it's on Amazon Prime.
Midsommar is very good, and we will cover that just because I think they're such interesting films to dissect. What they do, not so much in Hereditary, it is more in Mid. I go with Mid just because you keep looking at me funny, where they just blankly stare at the camera.
Yeah.
And in a comedy, it could be played as them like hitting the fourth wall. But in
Jim from The Office,
these tense films that Ari Aster does, it's so unsettling just to watch someone just stare into your soul through the camera. I think Slugs did right in with Hereditary, but he also included The Shining, so we'll give him both of our number 2s.
Yeah,
he might be heartbroken. I don't think his other one will finish as our one, but yeah, Hereditary I think it is by far the best horror movie. I think it's probably the best horror movie I've seen, but it's not my favorite.
Yeah,
and we'll get to my favorite now in a couple of minutes. But
what
is your best horror movie ever made, David?
My number 1 absolute favorite, undoubtedly the best movie ever made, The Blair Witch Project.
Yeah, I knew this was coming.
I love it so much. I love everything about it. I love the whole story about it, how they basically put these people up as missing people. Heather Donahue, her mother got condolences cards from like people in her church who thought her daughter was missing. The 3 actors didn't actually know that the Blair Witch was completely made up, and the people they're interviewing were planted by the directors to convince them that the Blair Witch is an actual thing. The way it was filmed as well, where they're just kind of put out in the forest and they'd find these, and like everything they find, like those little stick figurines, they would be put up while they were asleep. They had no idea that was coming. This movie didn't have a script. The fact that it's watchable is a miracle. The fact that it's actually
a lot more than watchable. Yeah,
it is brilliant. Is also the sequel directed by Adam Wingard, also very good. The Blair Witch game, terrifying.
I haven't seen the reboot.
The
remake. Quite know if it's a reboot
sequel.
or a remake. Oh, it's a sequel.
It follows Heather's brother.
Okay, well I haven't seen it's 2018 that came out, or 2019, 2017.
16.
Oh well, it's not that long ago anyway.
No, it's recent enough.
There's the sequel.
Yeah, the Book of Shadows. Pretty bad.
That's with the kids they're like in a house.
Yeah, it's kids going looking for the Blair Witch.
Yeah, but they go to like shops and stuff too. It's not like the Blair Witch where it's mainly like
no
in the forest. Yeah, I don't mind Book of Shadows as much as you do.
Yeah,
But see, this is another one we've already talked about before we even did this podcast. Of you want to cover all of the Blair Witch,
Yeah.
So that probably will happen at some stage. The Blair Witch, I think it unfairly, like Sinister to me, gets unfairly lumped in with all the other found footage movies that come after it. Like, people who've seen Blair Witch, I think like Blair Witch. But people who think of it, think of, I don't like Paranormal Activity, I don't like Blair Witch.
Yeah.
I don't like fucking Quarantine, the found footage remake of Wreck.
Yeah.
They think, I don't like that shit, that's all dull.
Yeah.
I don't like found footage movies. Whereas when a found footage movie's done right,
it's
almost immaculate. Like, the films like this are, the Blair Witch is so intriguing. It's like it's not like Cannibal Holocaust, but in the same way of it plays like Cannibal Holocaust with less rights violations.
Yeah. The other thing as well, when I was talking earlier about how I didn't have Friday the 13th in them because I thought slasher movies had like just you get so many unique ones. Yeah. But with this, I think you've seen so many like copycats. Like you talk about Paranormal Activity, Wreck, Cloverfield. They're all like different topics, but they're all essentially the same thing.
I wouldn't lump Wreck in with that. But
no, yeah. But what I'm saying is, I'm yet to see a found footage movie that is better than the Blair Witch.
There's no found footage movies really justify themselves as a found footage movie.
And the only one I can even think of that's, you know, got a kind of unique spin on it is that movie Unfriended, where it's done completely over.
Oh, Unfriended's very, very good.
I don't like it.
Oh, it's very good.
But what I'm saying is that's the only one I can think of that's like it's almost
the
like
sequel
it's like
more so. But
it's like a unique take on. I haven't seen the sequel.
I think Unfriended's not a great movie, but the way it works, I'm a sucker for like a unique idea.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, they work it all on the computer. That film Searching is completely on the computer too, or it's a completely on camera footage. It's not completely on. There's even an episode of Modern Family that is completely on computers, and it's all.
I've seen about 5 episodes.
I
of
love
Modern
anything
Family,
of that,
and that's included.
Yeah, so anything done on a computer, I think, is really well. Yeah, like that film Searching
with the hidden alien subplot.
It's anything done on a computer is really well done. We've kind of got off the Blair Witch a bit, but yeah, the Blair Witch, just the marketing campaign and stuff is enough to just put it up there on its own.
Yeah,
even if you just go and read about stuff like this. Like, I have a couple of honorable mentions that I want to bring in at the end that will let me kind of expand on this point a wee bit. But I think any film with like a unique kind of mental marketing idea, even if it's not a good movie, which the Blair Witch is. But even if it's not a good movie, it'll elevate it to it can elevate it to a great movie if you're involved in the marketing technique, which is kind of like my honourable mention that I'll get to. Right, David, my favourite horror movie.
I brace myself for.
No, you've mentioned it already.
Oh, okay.
It's just not on your list. It Follows.
Yeah, okay.
I wrote in college. I had to write a blog. We had to do blog posts for like our marketing media class, and so kind of as a prelude to the podcast, did lists or like I talked about films. Yeah. And I actually did a top 10 horror movies. I know a lot of them have changed since. Yeah. But It Follows was my constant. It Follows is, for anyone who doesn't know, is about this girl, played by Michael Monroe. Her name's Jay, and her family, pretty much. Well, her sister and her friends. There's no like parents in the movie at all. What the idea is here is Jay goes and she hooks up with this boy she's been talking to, who like she drops off at houses, pretty like a normal dude. But then once they have had sex, he chloroforms her, just ties her up in a garage, and he shows her that there's this naked woman just coming towards her, and she is like, what's going on? And the idea is that she has been passed on this almost curse where when you have sex with someone, it goes to them, and it's just called It the whole way through the movie. There's no explanation of what it is. It just constantly just walks towards you, and it doesn't walk very fast. It doesn't run, it doesn't move, it doesn't drive. It just walks in a straight line towards you, and if it gets you, you're fucked. So if it gets you, it goes back to whoever last was in the line, and it just runs the whole way down. So the only way to pass it is to either get as far away as possible and keep moving, or have sleep with someone. So what I like about this movie is it has the paranoia that we talk about, but not in the same way that Hereditary or you've seen It Follows. Yeah. Not in the same way Hereditary or The Invisible Man does, where there's no doubt at any point in this movie that it is coming for them. The paranoia it plays with is because it just walks in a straight line, and it can take any form. It could be me, you. It could be any like stranger or something that you don't know. So anything it thinks will get close to you. So there's plenty of scenes where Jay will be talking to Paul, or she'll be talking to Paul or Yara, and you'll just see someone walking in the background. Most notably in the school, there's just they just talk, and there's people coming walking towards them, and you don't know if they're just people in college or if it's the monster. They play so well with that paranoia. On the bare terms, it speaks to like an STD sexual fucking awareness video.
Yeah.
But I think it also just plays with the almost depression that goes on in most people, where there's always something coming for you in the back of your head. And just my last, because I could talk for this film. This is another one where pretty much all of these top 10s where we want to cover at some stage, but this is one where they play with the time zones and the like locations of stuff just to completely unease you. Like, they are in the suburbs and she's swimming in her pool, but then the next day she's all wrapped up in a heavy blanket, like a big massive hoodie and stuff, walking around, so you don't know whether it's summer or is it winter. They don't use any mobiles really. They use, like, there's a landline that they use at some stage, but then Yara has this mental tablet thing that I've never seen. Even now, I don't think we have these tablet things, like these e-readers, but it's so like seashell flavored and insane. They just fuck around with that stuff so much, and all the like hidden details and stuff you can notice. I think it warrants like 4 rewatches. Easy. Do you have anything to say on It Follows?
Yeah, I think if I was doing this purely on quality, like top 10 definitively best horror movies, It Follows would make my list. I was kind of put off the first time I watched it because I was coming off like watching Scream, Wolf Creek, all these kind of trashy movies, and that's the kind of mood I was in. And then I watched that and I was like, oh, I just don't like this.
Definitely not a trashy movie.
Yeah, no. Exactly. Yeah, that kind of put me off for the first time, and I rewatched it, and like, I know how good it is, but I just, it's
just as a stick. It's the same with it's The Shining for me, really. I do, but you see the quality, but I don't think The Shining lands for me as well as it lands for other people. Just like we know you're wrong about Sinister too. So yeah, I really love It Follows. It was never a doubt about my top movie. That's a lot of these films changed. Yeah. But my 1 and 2 were constant. If it was going based on quality, I think I'd have Hereditary number 1. Yeah. But if it's because it's my favourite movie, it's one of my favourite movies. Like, if we did a actual just top 10 movies, it'd be on it. Yeah, I don't want to say too much about It Follows really, because I, for one, don't want to spoil it on anyone, but I also just want to cover it at some stage, and I don't want to repeat myself for an hour. So that's our top 10. We're going to be judged by these, but we have a couple. I have a couple of honourable mentions. I assume you have.
I've got 5. Ju-On, which is the original
version. Ju-On, yes.
Yeah, which is the original version of The Grudge, because the American remake is terrible. American Werewolf in London, brilliant movie. Scream, which you had on your list. The Final Girls, and The Omen, which The Omen also very much struggled leaving that off.
Yeah, I didn't even really consider The Omen. I don't think it did make my list, but I didn't really consider it too much.
There's a scene in the first 15 minutes that really made me consider it, where it's at his birthday party, and I recommend anyone watch it, even for the first 15 minutes.
Yeah, The Omen's really good. I think we did have someone write in with The Omen. Yeah. But you had another one there, was it?
Yeah, The Final Girls.
Final Girls. Yeah, I've never heard of this one.
It's satire. It's essentially like me and you get trapped in Friday the 13th. It's very good. Would definitely recommend it.
That's an episode of The Wizards of Waverly Place where they get stuck in a slasher movie, but I'd recommend
that's
that.
That's where you got the idea.
As one. Yeah, I just have. Did you ever see Don't Look Now, David?
No, I haven't.
It's about this married couple who lose their child, so they go to Venice.
Yeah, I've heard of this. Yeah,
and they just get he sees like visions of his child like just running. It's kind of like a mental horror movie more than it's a physical horror movie. But yeah, I'd recommend it. You can't speak too much about it without spoiling it, so I'd say go in as blind as you can. I'd recommend Trick or Treat. It's a Halloween. I wanted to put it in just out of like a novelty movie. Yeah. I think it's very well done. It's not a very big movie. Like I don't know, many people I know wouldn't have seen it. I only know it because I like to watch horror movies. But it's very good. The next one I didn't include this one just because I don't think it would qualify technically as a horror. But neither of us mentioned Alien. Yeah, I don't count Alien as a horror movie. Really.
I would count it as a horror movie.
Then you're a lunatic for not having it on your list.
That's true, actually. Yeah.
I just don't count Alien as a horror movie because I think if a film covers too many genres like that, you can get away with lumping Alien into a sci-fi movie.
Oh yeah.
Just because I think the sci-fi genre struggled so much already. Yeah. I'll let them have Alien. Then I just had one more. Ghost Shark. No, I just wanted to mention 28 Days Later was another zombie movie that I wanted to include that I just couldn't. Oh well, it's kind of like a zombie movie.
Yeah, it's kind of like it, but it's not a zombie.
That's
movie.
Like saying we can get down a rabbit hole here. David.
It's not a zombie.
It's
movie.
A zombie movie.
No, because a zombie is someone that's reanimated. You see,
it's you're the type of fucking sucker that falls for like, oh, The Last of Us is a zombie. They're zombies, man.
I haven't played it, so I don't know.
No, but they're the type of guy who like...
But they have to... A zombie is someone who's died and come back.
Yeah, but it's the idea of... It's a zombie movie, but not with zombies.
Yeah, it's a zombie movie.
They are zombie movies, like.
But they're not zombies.
I'll not give you this.
Right, what do you have
classifies as? I just think 28 Days Later is like to counteract your point. It's like the quintessential zombie movie.
I think Train to Busan is the quintessential.
I don't think
because it's got zombies in it.
But I don't think most people will know what. If you ask people for the best zombie movies, 28 Days Later is coming up.
Oh, well, they're wrong.
I actually want people to let us know if 28 Days Later counts as a zombie movie.
Yeah, okay, we'll put a poll up.
And then no, I'll leave it, because one of my other mentions we have someone wrote in about, so I'll just read out a couple of the people who recommended horror movies. We
had Joycer come in with Halloween Town, which I've not seen.
I've never seen this either.
Yeah, I've never even heard of it.
So I'm not even going to pretend to know anything about this.
And
Joycer.
The Shining.
Yeah.
Hannah came in with Orphan, which so fucking good. Have you seen Orphan?
Yeah, I don't agree it's that great, but
love it.
Admittedly, have seen it the once like 8 years ago.
Yeah.
So
Jack came in with The Woman in Black and Blair Witch. The Woman in Black, I went to the cinema.
Is that the Daniel Radcliffe one?
Yeah, I went to the cinema and saw that when I was 12. And I've been too traumatized to go back and watch it since. So I couldn't really put in an opinion. And then finally I had Oisin Martin write in with The Thing, Alien, and The Descent. The Descent is one.
The Descent is one that I had on my
my initial
honorable mentions, but I have a mention here.
Yeah,
The Descent is great. It's a really claustrophobic movie. I do really like The Descent. Ronan wrote in with The Omen. Beggsy was The Shining. Slugs wrote in with Hereditary. He also said Halloween, which didn't make our list. My Paramore, Megan and her father are like massive Saw fans.
Yeah.
So I felt like I had to include the Saw for them.
Okay.
But I don't think it won't make mine again if we did this tomorrow. And then we just had Ryan Owens and Abby Walls wrote in with Insidious, which I think is a ridiculous claim to make. I
think it's a poor man's Conjuring.
Conjuring is a poor man's horror movie.
No, Sinister is a poor man's Conjuring as well.
Oh, I don't think you're correct there. This is what I was trying to say earlier. The Sinister gets lumped in with the Insidiouses of the world.
Yeah, because The Conjuring was made and it's better than Sinister.
We're going to argue about this. Our next topic is Sinister versus The Conjuring.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you are losers for picking Insidious. And David, you have a recommendation of the week for us to wrap us up here.
So we were talking about horror movies all day, so I said, right, well, I want to keep it horror, but I won't do a movie. And you brought a horror show last week, so I decided to bring a horror game. And this morning, I got an email from Steam saying that a different game had been released, so I've completely scrapped my initial plan, and I'm going completely ad-libbing this. But my recommendation of the week is After Party, made by Night School Studio, who did a game called Oxenfree, which is fantastic.
Yes, you've tried to sell me on Oxenfree for quite a while.
So good. Also kind of horror themed as well, so I could have gone with that one. So so I'll say Oxenfree and After Party. Oxenfree is like you've just finished school and there's like a tradition that you go to this island which is allegedly haunted. And essentially you're just controlling this character and you walk around and people will talk and kind of 3 speech bubbles will appear above your head. So you pick one of the 3 or you can just stay silent.
Point and click adventure.
Exactly, yeah. And the game kind of changes. The characters' relationships change. It's kind of like a Telltale game, depending on what you say, what you do. After Party, which was just released today, same premise, like same kind of game format, except the story to this is you go out on a night out with your mate, and you drink so much that you die of alcohol poisoning, and you end up in hell, and basically you have to get out of hell. Oh. So, very excited for this. Can't wait. I'm going to buy one.
I love that we've just thrown the recommendation. It doesn't even have to be something we like. It's something I haven't heard of and you haven't played.
Exactly,
so
yeah. So, can't
it's
wait.
no Ghost Shark, I tell you.
No, afraid not, but yeah. That's my recommendation for the week.
Oh, it's a recommendation I can't partake in since I don't have any Steam facilities. Sorry. I'll just borrow yours. It's cool. Yeah, right, I'll take that. We've gone on long enough here, David. Where can people find us on the medias?
People can find us at 2 Men 1 Pod on Twitter, 2 Men and a Pod on Instagram, 2 Men and a Podcast on YouTube with our brand new videos. We re-uploaded them all and they look way better.
They do, they look pretty good. You should go check them out. Yeah,
if you've got any suggestions, you can DM
contact
us on Twitter
directly. Or
you can DM us on Twitter, on Instagram, comment on YouTube, or you can email us at 2menapod@gmail.com.
Yeah, and please let us know what you thought of our list. I feel like I'm going to get some shit here, but...
Well, you put Sinister as number 3, Caolan. You're fucking asking for it.
Well, give me some shit.
What are we going to be covering next week, Caolan?
Next week we're going to cover The Gentleman, the 2019
Yeah,
release.
2019.
It's a mobster movie with
Guy Ritchie.
I couldn't think of his name. I was going to say Lee Harvey Oswald at one stage, but Guy Ritchie, not Lee Harvey Oswald. Guy Ritchie movie, very funny. Please check it out before next week.
Absolutely.
Or don't and just listen anyway.
It's on Amazon Prime.
It is on it is on Amazon Prime at the minute, yeah.
So
get on that. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, see you next week.
Thank you for listening. See you later, folks.